Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump could preside over remaking the Supreme Court or ensuring there's a 6-3 conservative majority. If perhaps Ginsburg retires, we then have, I believe, Amy Coney Barrett, a woman. So the left or Democrats can't say that Trump only picks this type of Supreme Court nominee. She's a woman. She is, by every standard, a wonderful, intelligent, accomplished judge. Let's just really quickly, it would be Clarence Thomas, Brett Kavanaugh, Neil Gorsuch, Samuel Alito, John Roberts, and then Amy Coney Barrett would make the sixth conservative judge. You'd still have Stephen Breyer, Elena Kagan, and Sonia Sotomayor. If Ginsburg were, it would be 1, 2, there'd only be 3 liberals there. Or 3 judges who would be considered liberal judges. You cheat Bernie Sanders, that's what you get. Thank God Trump won. Because I don't want Americans to be disarmed. I don't want colleges to impose the most bizarre legal standards. Amy Coney Barrett just actually ruled on a case. Judge Amy Coney Barrett lays waste to Obama-era kangaroo courts on college campuses, which is a very good thing. Basically, somebody was accused without any evidence. We know how that goes. If you're a Democrat accused without any evidence, then, don't believe the accuser. But if you're a conservative or if you're on a college campus, the bastion of liberal idiocy, then you have to abide by the moral standards of liberals only when it pertains to college students who are conservative or men. Anyway, I do think that Amy Coney Barrett will make the court a 6-3 majority, which is fantastic. Because Democrats, if they had their way, they would stifle and silence speech. They would disarm all Americans, and you get this rebuttal. Well, we don't want to limit speech. We don't want to, ban all guns. Oh yes, you do. Oh yes, you do. You ban certain types of firearms, and then the bad guys either get those, the maniacal, suicidal maniacs either get those types of firearms, or they get other types and they commit the same atrocities. And soon you're down to, okay, well, let's ban shotguns and revolvers. There goes the Second Amendment. And you see the censorship that takes place on every social media platform that always favors the liberal end of the spectrum. So we need to push back on that, because Democrats, what they do is they literally cheated their most idealistic leftist. They literally cheated the person that it should have been the embodiment of their value system, because we know that Bernie Sanders brought about all this wonderful progressive ideology, right? Okay, in reality what happened is they cheated him. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign. The Democratic Party does not exist. It's an extension of both Bill and Hillary Clinton. So you see, believe the accuser with Kavanaugh, except when it's Justin Fairfax or Keith Ellison or Mr. Lemon at CNN or anyone else. Believe the accuser, except when it's Juanita Broderick with Bill Clinton. We can go on forever. The left doesn't have a value system. They utilize an alleged value system to wield political power. That's it. So a 6-3 conservative majority is what the country needs. You certainly don't want the wonderful, amazing, brilliant, and even fair-minded social justice contingent on Twitter deciding constitutional law. Because they'll look the other way when it's Clinton. They'll look the other way when it's a liberal, but they'll impose their standards of morality and behavior if it's a conservative. That's what they do. Amy Coney Barrett is a very, very interesting choice. I do think that if Ginsburg is forced to resign for some reason, God forbid, I wish her long life. I don't wish anyone harm, but it's not looking good long term. So here, a court with a solid conservative majority could reshape America. Good. This is The Economist. Reshape American life. Good. Thank God. My goodness. That's, and the thing is, what you have is, you'll have phrases like, these conservatives are going to roll back protections. They're going to roll back. That is a very ambiguous phrase where there's perhaps one element or one statute or one aspect in a legal ruling that doesn't make any sense. And then conservatives rightly say, you know what? No, the public, taxpayers don't have to fund this. Or taxpayers don't have to fund this procedure, which is not about, it doesn't have anything to do with saving a person's life. It's not technically a medical procedure. I'm not going to get into it, but sorry. Can't redefine words and redefine meanings and then have your new definition of words and meanings correlate to public policy. You can't do that. The change can include, conservative majority becomes 6-3 and possibly eventually 7-2. So Amy Coney Barrett really quickly, and then I'll get into why they can't pack the courts, which is they're so hilarious. They're the ones who cheat. They're the ones who engage in horrific foreign policy decisions. They're the ones who have journalists who are now backpedaling and say the most horrible things. And then they accuse you of not really understanding what they meant, even though they meant horrible things. But Amy Coney Barrett, 5 things. SCOTUS blog. Let's get to Amy Coney Barrett. In November 2017, Donald Trump released a revised list of potential Supreme Court nominees. The November 2017 list was an expanded version of 2 earlier lists announced during the 2016 presidential campaign, from which then-candidate Trump pledged, if elected, to pick a successor to the late Justice Antonin Scalia, who died on February 13, 2016. First on the new list, because it was in alphabetical order, was Amy Coney Barrett, a Notre Dame law professor and former Scalia clerk who had recently been confirmed to a seat on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit. Now, then you get this. They would never have ever have said this about any other religion. But because Amy Coney Barrett is Catholic, Dianne Feinstein and Democrats were like, well, the dogma. There's dogma within you. Well, what about the dogma of other religions? Would you say? It's interesting. They went after Trump, and I believe President Trump was wrong when he went after, it was an Indiana-born judge, and he said, oh, well, you know what? His political biases are because of this. I disagree with President Trump, even though I love President Trump. I think he's a fantastic president. I'm going to vote for him in 2020. I disagree with what he said. I think that if you're a judge, generally, you should assume that they're going to focus only on the law and the Constitution and not their personal biases. One hopes, in many cases, that's throughout the country and throughout history, that's not the case. But you would never, in this day and age, with the Twitter theocracy and the moral virtue channeling on social media, you would never say, well, because this person is of this ethnicity or this religion or this background, therefore they can't interpret the Constitution in a manner that should be interpreted. They had no problem saying that about Amy Coney Barrett because she was Catholic. This is why I say, this is one of the reasons I say we need a conservative Supreme Court. I can get into it more so, but I'm not going to even go there. Okay, the left is completely and utterly unhinged on every issue, from the Second Amendment to the First Amendment to to fabricating a Trump-Russia conspiracy nonsensical theory. I was watching Michael Isikoff on Consortium News. Elizabeth Voss has a fantastic show on Consortium News, and I was listening to him. He was debating some other some other journalists, and Mike Leskoff was like, "Oh, well, I'm so glad you're open to the idea that the DNC was hacked." And then the other journalist was like, "Oh, well, there's no evidence. It was just an indictment." "Oh, well, the United States government has confirmed it." And no, the U.S. government never confirmed it. Yeah, this is against the Constitution. What took place against the Fourth Amendment, unwarranted search and seizure. You can't just get a FISA warrant based on a Steele dossier purchased by Clinton. But forget about that. You can't utilize CrowdStrike, a third-party tech firm, to say that the U.S. government, the DNC was hacked. DNC is a private entity, and you can't get the U.S. government to write warranty disclaimers on the DHS and ODNI reports. Mike Leskoff should have been called on the fact that he might not have ever read the actual intelligence reports that say the U.S. government is not certain. If it ever got to the Supreme Court, they would ask, is the government certain that there was a crime committed? And if it was just the emails were stolen, but we don't know by whom, that's different from the Russians hacked the DNC to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated, but didn't hack Clinton's private server with top secret special access program intelligence running on Microsoft Exchange software that was unencrypted for 5 months. So a guy like Michael Isikoff is never going to be like, "Oh, well, yeah, the Russians probably hacked Clinton's servers." He'll say that, well, Clapper says that the Russians hacked the DNC to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated because they were so frightened of Hillary because she put up such a big stink regarding 20% of U.S. uranium capacity being sold to Russia as money flowed into cash flowed into the Clinton Foundation amid Russian uranium deal. But like I said, that's an example. If it gets to the Supreme Court, you get a liberal Supreme Court, they'll side with the intelligence community, like the liberals, the wonderful liberals of today. The liberals of today are authoritarian. They try to pin Trump on that, but he's not authoritarian. He's not. He's not at all. He was actually the victim of an authoritarian apparatus. They set up and framed President Trump under the guise that Russia wanted him and not Clinton. Why would Russia want him? Why? If anything, he was more belligerent towards Russia than Clinton would have been because he had to prove himself. And from the uranium sale to Clinton's unencrypted servers outside the U.S. government with top secret intelligence, if you have a liberal Supreme Court ruling on anything to do with McCabe or Comey or Clapper or Brennan, very likely they're going to side with unelected intelligence officials. Because you look at the way America is. It's true when they say, "Well, this is a battle for America's soul." We cannot survive as a country. We cannot survive as a country if you have a Supreme Court backing the CNN and MSNBC and James Comey and Clapper and Twitter theocracies of the world. We can't survive as a country. Americans will be disarmed completely. There'll still be the same madmen and criminals getting access to the same weapons that were banned. Just like people get access to narcotics, meth, whatever, heroin, whatever. You have complete words that are completely redefined that then correlate to various aspects of life that a liberal Supreme Court might say, okay, yeah, this word is redefined, so there you go. The left is completely unhinged because the original sin was that they cheated Bernie Sanders. I know that it's not cool to say, it's not hip, it's not, en vogue, it's not fashionable, but they cheated Bernie Sanders. And they stated the primary is a scam and a sham and a theatrical performance and a farce. Clinton is going to run again, not because I said so and because I will have been right since 2017. It's because she doesn't really care what anyone thinks and she wants to attain political power. And every single time she ran, she said she wasn't going to run. I have no clue why people believe any type of hint that she wasn't running. She even literally said, I haven't closed the door in 2020. So Amy Coney Barrett, if I could get all 9 judges conservatives, I would. Because the left is completely and utterly unhinged. Completely and utterly unhinged. They don't stand for individual liberties. They don't stand for civil liberties. They don't stand for... They're the authoritarians. They want to foment a new Cold War without any evidence, where even the intelligence community says we're only highly confident. That's why when I was listening to that brilliant Elizabeth Voss Consortium News segment, it was about Assange. It was about a whole bunch of things. And I view him to be a hero. But again, there you go. Under President Obama's administration, Clinton, who committed crimes, circumvents the Espionage Act. But people who are actual whistleblowers, they get convicted more than any other president in history, just like people were deported, human beings, more than any other president, 3 million. Just like there was a greater expansion of oil and gas production under Obama than any other president. President Obama's administration is the antithesis of what they claim to stand for today. So, I mean, you could just look at... I can't say that every conservative decision I agree with, but I would rather have the biggest questions, the biggest philosophical dilemmas we face as a country decided by conservatives in 2020 than by liberals. Maybe that wasn't the case 10, 20 years ago. Maybe I would disagree 20 years ago. But the conservative of today is very similar to the liberal of 10 years ago. Really, the conservative today is similar to the liberal of 15 years ago or 10 years ago. And the liberal of today is some kind of, bizarre creation of social media and failed electoral catastrophes linked to Clinton, who's running again. You'll say, how could she run again? Then there's this wonderful person, a couple wonderful viewers who are going to do a segment, bragging about the indictments are imminent. Did she commit crimes? Yeah, but they were imminent. Well, what happened? It was a cover-up. Okay, I won. Or at least I'm not perfect, but at least I had the pulse of what was going on. Then I have some wonderful people who say, Clinton is not running at all, and there was never a coup against President Trump. It was just because they were really worried that a dossier could be a dossier purchased by Clinton. Where's the dossier purchased by Trump on Clinton? I just want to know that. Okay, where's the wonderful bodily fluids raining down upon the golden muumuu, or the golden fluids raining down upon the golden muumuu? Give me your thoughts below. Amy Coney Barrett could be the next Supreme Court justice and make it a 6-3 Supreme Court. I think that would be great. I didn't think that would be great a couple years back. I do now. Thank God Trump won. This country, Trump saved this country from turning into like a liberal cyber nightmare. And the fact that he offends the sensibilities of people who don't mind destroying Libya under Obama, but mind that he might have called the country a bad word. Those people, that mentality is not sustainable, and it'll take one more election loss for them to completely implode. That little momentary grasp of political power they have, that they think that they can just impose their will upon everyone. We're going to pack the courts. Really? How? You don't even have the Senate. And 2020 is not looking. Well, first of all, you're going to lose the election to Trump. I stated that in 2015. Clinton would lose. She lost. Clinton's going to lose again and take the entire Democratic Party with her. Give me your thoughts below. I wish RBG only the best. I state that 100%. I don't wish anyone harm. But you cheat Bernie Sanders, and then you lose with Clinton, and then you blame Russia. You deserve everything you get. You try to set up and frame Trump, you deserve every single thing you get as a political movement. Give me your thoughts below. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. It's growing. We're almost at 10,000 subs. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been about a week and a half. And I thank you. And thank you, and God bless you, and thank you. That's it. That other channel is important. And people say, oh, HA, you're still not letting loose. I'm letting loose. I'm letting loose as much as I can given the circumstances of that channel. But check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. It's below. And what can I tell you? Democrats, if it's 6-3, look, they're going to go into 2020 very likely with either a 6-3 Supreme Court or the possibility of a 6-3 Supreme Court. And I'll tell you something right now. That's still not going to get enough people to vote Democrat because the Clinton effect will still take place. Clinton is going to be the Democratic nominee in 2020, if anything, because it's a graft machine. Democrats are a bribery and graft phenomenon. They're not a political movement. And people say to me, oh, I don't think she'll run. They won't let her. What? That's like saying, oh, they won't let Al Capone at the height of his power. No, it's the other way around. It's she who will not let others. You got it twisted. Give me your thoughts below. Amy Coney Barrett will be the next Supreme Court justice pick by President Trump, and she'll be confirmed in the Senate. So give me your thoughts below.